David, we're in the end game. So I've been practicing as a lawyer in this field for 29 years. In fact, in 1994, I was introduced to the regulations, shall we say, of natural health products when I was acting for Health Canada in a court case. So I started on Health Canada's side, and then I ended up moving to the other side, and I've spent about half of my career acting against Health Canada on behalf of natural health product manufacturers and practitioners and the like. And I've been called as an expert witness in Parliament on this issue. For my entire career, Health Canada has wanted to get rid of natural health products. I ended up acting for Health Canada in that lawsuit. Now, Health Canada internally, and I'll tell you that they waived solicitor-client privilege. It would have been back in, I think, 1995 or 1996, so I could act for Jim Strauss in another matter. So I'm free to talk about this. But they would refer to me, as a rogue herbalist. And they would explain to me, can you believe this? This rogue herbalist is selling unapproved treatments. And I knew nothing about this. I drank the Kool-Aid and I thought, oh, is this ever reckless? Here we've got somebody selling unapproved treatments. Now, it's important for everyone to understand, David, all natural products were unapproved. Our drug regulations were designed for chemical drugs. They were never designed for natural health products. We've learned that chemical drugs are so dangerous that we've created this regulatory environment where basically you cannot put one on the market. They're presumed to be unsafe. They're presumed to not work. And you have to prove to Health Canada they're safe. You have to prove to Health Canada they work. And then and only then can you get a license and allow them to be used. Well, that makes tremendous sense for dangerous chemical drugs because they are three of the five leading causes of death in every Western nation are linked to chemical pharmaceutical drugs.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
3 out of the five leading causes of death, although two of them usually are hidden from the public, are linked to chemical pharmaceutical drugs. The point I'm making is that as a category, they carry a tremendous risk. The point I'm trying to make is everyone's going, oh, well, we need tight regulations on natural health products. We need regulations on natural health products. Well, understand, for almost all of your life, David, they've been completely unregulated. Did you feel like we didn't have any regulations until 2004? That's when we moved halfway into the chemical drug model with the natural health product regulations. But it took us probably about 12 years to get the industry mostly compliant. So almost for your whole life, every natural health product you went into a health food store, almost everything you bought has been unregulated. When I was working for Health Canada against the herbalist and accepting without thinking, I thought the danger was allowing people to sell unapproved treatments. But after I prepared for that trial, I realized, no, actually the danger is not to allow consenting adults to decide how they are going to treat themselves and be the best judges for their own health. And the danger was removing that single treatment from the market. And I could have given you the names, addresses, and phone numbers of thousands of Canadians who were only alive because of that single product. So we're talking actually now life and death. And Health Canada says, well, but we need the stricter regulations to protect you. Health Canada never does a balanced risk analysis to ask, well, what's the risk of removing these products? I mean, I could go on and give you example after example. I mean, I had a case where the court agreed, well, you were breaking the law, but it was legally necessary or there'd be more deaths. Like, we're talking life and death. What is happening, David, is remember I told you we moved halfway into a chemical drug model in 2004, which was interesting. So the chemical drug regulations were never intended for natural products, but they became so popular in North America that both the FDA in the States and Health Canada started attacking them, basically saying you had to comply with these chemical drug regs. And so products were disappearing, companies were going under, and citizens rebelled. So in the United States, Congress was forced to look into how should we regulate natural health products. And they passed a law, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994, where they classed them as foods. So, but in Canada, we did the opposite. We had a citizen rebellion. Standing Committee of Health holds broad consultations and says we shouldn't regulate these as drugs and don't pretend they're unsafe. But Health Canada drags its feet for 6 years after the recommendations come out and then imposes chemical drug regulations. So in the US, they're a food. In Canada, they're a drug. In the US, they're presumed by law to be safe. In Canada, they're presumed by law to be unsafe.
Wow.
We have to prove they're safe. In the US, you don't need government pre-approval. In Canada, now we do. We moved halfway into a drug model. We accepted it. The natural health product community stomached it because there were two concessions. So the first concession is you could use traditional use evidence to get through the efficacy requirement because we don't have intellectual property rights.
Right.
So without a patent, you can't get through the new drug approval process because you'll never recover your investments. And the other concession was we didn't have to pay the licensing fees. Now, Health Canada's come out with what's called a self-care framework, where they're saying, no, we're going to move you fully into the chemical drug model where you are regulated exactly like chemical drugs. So in Bill C-47, our budget, Health Canada snuck in provisions at sections 500 to 504 that basically there's a set of penalties for the chemical pharmaceutical drugs. And Health Canada has special powers over the chemical pharmaceutical drugs because they are so dangerous. They never applied to natural health products. And when they were brought in 2014, Health Canada and the government made it clear these are not appropriate for natural health products that don't carry the same level of risk. But be that as it may, they snuck into the federal budget provisions that now make those apply. Before June 22nd, if you were a natural health product company or a naturopathic doctor, for example, and you violated the regulations, the maximum penalty you faced was $5,000. Now it's gone up to $5 million for every day you're in violation.
Yeah.
Another element of this is we're going to lose the right to use traditional use evidence. Well, we're probably going to lose 3/4 of our products there. The drug licensing fees and site licensing fees that they promised wouldn't apply are now going to be applied. That was already gazetted in the Canada Gazette. So prices are going to go up and we're going to lose products. It means that lower income Canadians no longer have the option of using natural remedies. They're already locked into a chemical drug model, which is far more dangerous and especially for chronic illnesses, way less effective. The goal is to get rid of most of our products. We're going to still have vitamins and minerals. We're going to have single ingredient products, maybe a couple of combinations, but in label amounts that are meaningless. And our practitioners will be gone because they won't have the meaningful products anymore. So this is part of international harmonization to move us fully into a chemical drug model.
Wow.
It's no accident the World Health Organization is now looking into how should we regulate natural health products. This is the train wreck, and you asked me what can people do. So hopefully you can post the website, but I'm part of a group called the Natural Health Product Protection Association, as you indicated, and our website is nhppa.org. And I'd like your viewers to do a couple of things. First of all, we have a subscribe page where you can give us your name and your email address. Please subscribe because we're going to be doing campaign after campaign after campaign. Also, David, we need people to start donating to us monthly. We have a mechanism there where you can, set it up so that you donate monthly, even if, it's $25 or $50 a month, because we're setting up some structures, which I'll share with you, that are quite exciting. And we need to hire people to manage this. We're going to be, like the NCI, largely doing volunteers. But the reality is to win this fight, and we think it's going to be a year-long campaign. And the only two things we want is basically we want harmonization with the U.S. Don't treat these like drugs. regulate them as foods. We shouldn't need government pre-approval to use ginger tea for nausea, for crying out loud. And also get us out of the World Health Organization, because ultimately that's what this is a part of. And, I think people would be shocked about things like the treaty that we can't call a treaty, and that we would be basically giving up our right to decide how we're going to handle health issues during a pandemic. Like, people would be shocked. So who has sovereignty over your body? Is it you, or is it Health Canada? Because if we accept a drug model for anything but the chemical pharmaceutical drugs, and I mean, I agree they should be deemed illegal, and you have to go through this licensing regime. But if you apply them to natural products that we've been using for thousands of years, then the logical consequence of that is we won't have them as a choice. You have to understand that Health Canada is not there to protect your health. I can point you to court transcripts where I've had Health Canada inspectors on the stand, and they're quite clear, they're not there to protect our health. They are there to enforce the Food and Drug Act and regulations. Health Canada, most of their budget comes from fees they charge the chemical drug companies. I mean, it's a classic conflict of interest. But if you thought they were there to protect your health, which Health Canada isn't, but if they were there to protect our health, they would be in a conflict. You then can't have them collecting their salaries from the chemical drug companies that they're there to regulate.